Let's get started, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful webinar on agentic AI in municipal settings and how to create impact in minutes, not in weeks, months, or dare I say, years. So let's just get started. My name is Joe Appleton. I'm the Smart City Director of BizTech Europe, might I just say. And today I am joined with Jason Schuster, the COO at BizTech, Delia Perla, the SVP of Revenue at BizTech, and Michał Łakomski, the Mayor's Proxy for Smart City and the Head of Digitalization and Cybersecurity for the city of Poznan in Poland. So to set the scene, we can say that cities and towns cannot wait months for AI pilots. And today we'll show how to make impact in minutes. So over the next hour, you'll hear what's actually working and how you can start this week and how to do it safely and securely with clear guardrails and in a way which is not intimidating for City Hall workers and not so jargon heavy. So there are slides that will go with this presentation, but I'm not going to kill you all with them. So let's just talk and set the scene about why AI is important. So to set the stage, adoption is rising, but there are two realities that are slowing teams down. That's data access and a fear of complexity. And the flip side of that is targeted AI agents that work on existing information that keep people in control. As you can see from this slide here, with details from McKinsey & Company, AI is going to be big business. It already is. And in public sector, that could be an enormous amounts of saving. And we're looking at it through the lens of finances here, but also in time, in effort, and increasing efficiency. So what we're trying to look at is agentic AI, not generative AI. So systems that don't answer, they can take bounded actions with permissions and audit trails and make decisions proactively. So let me just once more go around the room and introduce everyone. We have Jason Schuster, we have Delia Perla and Michał Łakomski. And guys, if you'd like to say hello, that would be great.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hey, great to be here.
Hello, thank you for the invitation for this webinar.
No problem. So let's get started. I mentioned the words generative AI and agentic AI, and not everyone is familiar what the difference is between the two. So Jason, could you run us quickly through what is the difference between generative and agentic AI?
Absolutely. And I'll try to, I'm going to keep this in the most simple terms because I believe that's the best way to approach these things. But essentially, generative AI, this is the AI that most of us have been pounded with in every publication, every social media post, everything from everybody. Generative AI is the ability to, it's AI that creates things, and it's used from, we train these huge models, and then we allow the model to essentially make predictions about things or make assumptions, and so it creates ideas and it creates things. And generative AI is super powerful, but guys, it's old news. It's old news. If you're not already using generative AI, you're already super far behind because AI is already moving way past that. So when we use the term agentic AI or AI agents, we're talking about AI that actually does things. Okay, everyone here is maybe familiar with the concept of the Internet of Things. And so kind of connecting physical devices to the internet. But agentic AI is really more like what we would call the Internet of Action. So these are, agents are, we're not talking about conscious beings, right? We're not talking about sci-fi, but we are talking about AI that can actually go and perform actions, that can make rational decisions. It learns based on the information that's around it. And, for example, AI agents could exist within a system that's connected with IoT, right? And constantly be optimizing the system based on what's actually happening. Hey, we've got too much power over here on this side of the building and it's unnecessary. We're going to compensate by lowering power usage on this other side. And an agentic AI would be able to automatically recognize that and take the action necessary to balance it out. Right. And so the main purpose of agentic AI is efficiency. And, eventually it is being able to do the work of maybe a whole person, allowing human capital to be better leveraged within organizations. So that's the way that I see agentic AI.
Okay, so you mentioned efficiency there. So why does that matter in a municipal context?
There's never enough money.
Okay.
There's never enough money at any municipality, right? Municipalities are always trying to stretch the dollar. Okay. Now that's not me saying that all municipalities are super efficient with capital. But what I'm saying is that there's never enough money. So if there are tools like AI agents that can help either A, save money or stretch money further, allowing human capital, people, to do more for citizens, that's a win for any municipality.
With that in mind, then, so Delia, you're on the call as well. Could you tell us a little bit about what we can do to help municipalities right now?
Yeah. Before I answer that question, I wanted to say to all of you who are in this webinar that if you stay for the rest of the webinar, we will be giving a 90-day free code to try our Agentic AI for free. And I'll be sharing that code at the end. So last night I was at a panel discussion, and one of the individuals at the panel was Microsoft AI Economy of Institute doing research on AI and the diffusion of AI. And one of the things that they mentioned that we all can recognize is that municipalities are coming out with policies of what not to do now that AI is here and what to adhere to. While that is really good and safe for our constituents, they really wanted to make the note of flipping the switch of what can we do and emphasizing lists for our constituents of what they should be trying, what they should be implementing, and how cities can win quickly. So one of the ways that we could do that very quickly is in April of 2026, there is a new ADA website compliance regulation where all governments serving 50,000 people or more will have to implement and update their websites. And this movement or this deadline has to be compliant to new standards that can augment particular ways that a government is communicating through their website. So imagine an agent like Hal being able to answer any question through an audible question and response in over 100 languages. The state and local governments will have to adhere to this by April. For those who are under 50,000 people in population, they have another year to do so. But why this is so important is that there's over 1 billion people with disabilities in the world, and 75% of disabilities are invisible. One other thing that HAL can do is when you go to a website for your city or your government, and this includes universities, there are hundreds of pages to surf through for an item that you want. And now you can ask Cal to actually find the page so that you can access it quickly. Not only that, is it's text to written content. So the questions are and responses are going to be in your native tongue if you want to use that, but also in text format as well as auditory. So those are quick wins because you can implement all of that in 30 minutes for your city or state.
Delia, you mentioned HAL, and we haven't done a proper introduction on what HAL really is. So Jason, would you like to give us a quick 30-second overview of what that is before I launch into a video which may explain it in more depth?
Absolutely. In the 1960s, there was a movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey, where there was an AI named HAL. Anybody who's seen that knows that. Anyways, no, I'm kidding, guys. That's Town HAL. HAL is BizTech's agentic AI. And I want to clarify something. HAL is really a combination of generative and agentic AI. Because HAL can do things, but HAL can also generate content, responses, etc. But it's a conversational AI agent, and so we're applying that agent within a very wide scale of context, depending on what we're dealing with here. But when it comes to towns and cities, we're Delia talked about quick wins. We have a product called Town HAL. which is our agentic AI, HAL 8122, applied for cities and municipalities at the website level. Okay. And so with Town HAL, it's an agent that sits on your website, and it has a knowledge base that's based on your website or additional information that you give it. And it helps people navigate your website, your services, your forms, and your permitting, and all these things that make government sometimes less accessible and makes citizens frustrated because they really want to get something done. So what do they end up doing? They end up calling you or sending you an email. I need help with this. The goal, one of the big wins for HAL is call and email deflection, is helping people get what they need from your website as it is right now, without having to go and start using up, I keep using the term human capital, without using up people's time who actually have 1,000 other things that they're trying to do to keep the city or municipality running. So that's Town HAL. We'll show a video, I think, right, Joe, on kind of an example of what that can do.
I think a video is the best way. It will be shared with sound, so if you have headphones in like I do, be prepared to lower it unless you want to be deafened. One moment.
Hello, I'm HAL 8122, your friendly Town HAL assistant. Could you share which city you work for and your role so I can find the best ways to collaborate?
I'm James, responsible for innovation and transformation of the City of New York.
Great to meet you, James. Let me quickly gather some info about you and your work in New York City so we can find the best collaboration opportunities. All right, I'm pulling up some details. We'll be ready to dive into some tailored collaboration ideas very soon. James, it looks like you're in the specialized area of innovation and transformation for New York City, but the exact profile match wasn't immediately clear from the search. Could you share a bit more about your focus areas, like smart cities, digital services, or civic tech? That'll help me fine-tune how Town HAL can support New York City's goals.
Let's start from here. What is Town HAL? And if we put you on nyc.gov today, which 3 resident problems can you solve? What systems would you integrate with to do it, for example, 311 or scheduling? And how do you ensure accessibility, multilingual support, and privacy?
Town HAL is an intelligent agent designed specifically for local governments to transform public service portals. It's not just a chatbot, it integrates with municipal systems to modernize resident interactions. One major strength is seamless integration. Town HAL can work with systems like 311, scheduling tools, and other data sources via APIs. It's a lightweight widget that can be embedded into existing municipal websites, meaning you don't need to overhaul your current platform. In terms of accessibility, Town HAL operates in over 90 languages, ensuring multilingual support for residents. It's adaptable to context and user behavior, making it accessible to diverse communities. Privacy is also paramount. Town HAL is built with secure cloud infrastructure, and it can be customized to meet data protection standards. Altogether, it's a comprehensive solution that modernizes how cities engage residents, handle requests, and ensure equitable access.
Walk me through 3-day 1 wins for NYC. A. Reduce 311 heat rodent calls. B. Faster benefits triage. C. Multilingual access. Keep answers short.
Sure. Here's how Town HAL delivers 3 quick wins for New York City on day 1. A. Reduce 311 heat rodent calls by providing instant, accurate self-service information and automating reports. B. Faster benefits triage by guiding residents step-by-step through eligibility and application processes. C. Multilingual access by handling queries in 90+ languages right away.
Would you say that you make government services more accessible?
Yes, Town HAL is specifically designed to make government services more accessible. It transforms outdated and confusing municipal websites, providing multilingual support and intuitive interactions. It helps residents get information and services faster, reducing communication barriers and improving overall user experience.
Is the installation of Town HAL easy?
Yes, the installation of Town HAL is easy. It's a lightweight widget that embeds seamlessly into any municipal website, with no need for a full redesign or migration. This makes adoption quick and straightforward.
Can you translate your last answer into Spanish?
Claro, aquí va la traducción. Sí, la instalación de Town Hall es sencilla. Es un widget ligero que se integra sin problemas en cualquier sitio web municipal, sin necesidad de un rediseño completo o migración. Esto permite una adopción rápida y sencilla.
And in Arabic?
بالتأكيد، إليك الترجمة إلى اللغة العربية. نعم، إن تثبيت تاون هال سهل، فهو أداة خفيفة الوزن تندمج بسلاسة في أي موقع بلدي، دون الحاجة إلى إعادة تصميم أو نقل شامل. وهذا يجعل عملية الاعتماد سريعة وسهلة.
Thank you, Hal.
You're very welcome. If you'd like to explore more ways Town Hall can help New York City, feel free to ask. I'm here to assist anytime.
We are BizTech, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, I think that gives a nice overview there. Let me just stick this slide back up while we continue. Now, just quickly, Jason, we're talking at this as a website edition here, but what else can these kind of agents do? I'm sure we'll get to it later on in the webinar, but apart from what makes this different from just another chatbot?
Yeah, I mean, again, what makes this different from a typical chatbot? Chatbots really pull 100% of their knowledge from kind of if this then that type answers and questions. Okay, if this then that. So this HAL is different, and again, HAL is certainly ahead of the curve, but this will become a standard for websites in the future. So keep an eye out. There will be more that come. But the difference is that this is an actual fully functioning LLM with agentic capability sitting on your website. So it can actually pull you to the pages on your website that you actually want to go. Chatbot can't do that. It can actually help you fill out forms and apply for things like permits and things like it can actually do the work for you. That's something that a chatbot can't do. So it actually cuts down the burden of trying to find what you need in half. Now we're talking about this in a municipal standpoint, but think about it even from a commercial standpoint. How many services or technology technology applications have you started using that no longer have a customer service number? All they have is a directory of frequently asked questions or stuff to find. That is really frustrating because I find it hard to find what I need. But HAL could actually go and read all of those files and just give you the answer. So now it's like having a customer service agent, but on the website. So it's, cities have multiple ways that they can leverage this kind of technology instead of just one, which is, hey, ask me a question. Maybe I have an answer. If I don't have an answer, I'm going to connect you with a real person behind a keyboard. But that person behind the keyboard is now not doing something else within the municipality. What you want to do is reduce the number of calls and emails that are getting to you as a municipality to the things that are most unique or most urgent. And this technology can do that for you. But it also reduces mistakes. So I'm going to share a quick story, and this is totally off book. We didn't talk about this when we were talking about the webinar structure, but I'm going to tell you a story. So we were talking to someone the other day who is super involved, an organization very involved with cities globally, thousands of cities. I'm not going to say the name because I didn't get permission to share the whole story, but we were doing a demonstration of Town Hall Live with this person, and they were blown away. But the thing, they said, let's test this out. Let's see how efficient it really is. And he said, let's see, if I wanted to throw a block party in the city of Boston, what would I need to do? And Hal pulled up on the website 4 different permits that someone would need to throw a block party in the city of Boston. And the funny part of the story is that this person, their friend, had just thrown their own block party in Boston. And when they tried to figure out what permits that they needed, they only found 2. And they held the block party, and then they got fined for not having the other 2. Okay? And the funniest part about the whole story is the person throwing the party was a sitting city councilman. So this is someone who actually works for the government and still couldn't find the permits that they needed. And Town Hall was able to identify all 4 permits and wasn't even fully integrated into the website. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about in terms of efficiency, right? This, like, the city doesn't want to have to fine its citizens for participating in activities, right? Permitting is a revenue stream. We want permits to be efficient. We want people to actually be happy to do these things, right? So these agentic AI makes that possible. So
Perfect. I hope that's
Can I add one more thing?
Is it another story?
No, it's not a story. It's just another value to Town Hall that someone brought up yesterday to me. There's a lot of economic development and projects that are going on throughout cities. And what they do as a response to the community is they have these meetings or webinars to update people on initiatives that they're doing. And they're trying to get constituent feedback. They're trying to get the information out. Well, now you can actually, because you're not going to reach everybody. And that's been the biggest problem for cities, is how do we reach constituents in new ways that are outside the fundamental ways that we've been doing. But now with technology and now with Town Hall, you can actually upload information about that project into Town Hall through a dashboard and put it as a high priority so that individuals who miss the meeting, miss the webinar, miss those updates on those initiatives, maybe the presentation from the architect with the city, those questions and answers can be addressed at the website level. So think about all your constituents who need to be updated on a variety of different things, of which they can not, have access to actually going physically to a meeting or to, an event. It's a way to capture more constituents and keep them updated on a variety of different issues that are happening in their city that the city really wants, buy-in and information. So I just wanted to add that as another value.
No, that's perfect. Talking of value, I wanted to poke Jason to talk about another sort of ROI possibility with agentic AI, but let's save that for a bit later on. We've talked a lot about Town Hall, we've talked a lot about ourselves, but I think for the benefit of the audience, we should actually bring in somebody from public sector now who is on the front line with this kind of thing. So Mihal, if you'll unmute yourself, I'd like to start with some questions about the adoption of agentic AI into City Hall processes. And let's start with one of the most obvious points is cybersecurity. So what are the actual security and cyber concerns you hear in City Hall when people ask the AI question?
Well, the main concern is the data. If we start using any solution based on AI, we always ask ourselves a question, do we still own the data? What happens with the data? Is it consumed somewhere? Is somebody learning on our data? Is it secure? Especially because we are strong in personal data protection and we have the personal data of our citizens. We have to be GDPR compliant and go through verification whether the solution is safe enough. So always in my team, Security Operations Center is doing, let's say, something like due diligence, checking what solutions are used with the AI, how it is connected, and try to answer this question, what happens with the data. We also do basic tests, asking some questions, for example, to the chatbot that are not connected deeply with the City Hall, and see whether it goes with answers out of the knowledge that it can be based from our pages and from our services, because we don't want it to be used as a cook assistant or something if we are preparing something to solve the citizens' problems.
And so with that in mind, and from your point of view, what's the minimum bar that's required to make an AI tool safe to try in your city?
I think it's this data security. So when we have confirmation that the data is secure, that we still own the data and it cannot be used on any purpose without our permission, also the contract is properly signed, then we are into innovation and into this kind of solutions. I may explain more how we are preparing, because we are in the process of putting the whole into our webpage of Poznań City Lab. But I think you left this question for later, so I don't want to ruin your agenda.
We can absolutely get into that. So how did you start with AI, and what was the first steps?
Well, at the beginning, Poznań is one of the biggest cities in Poland. It's 1 million metropolitan area inhabitants. So we have pretty lot customers, let's say, and our mayor is very focused on using modern solutions. So he is keep on pushing us to go toward AI solutions, because it's connected with what Jason said about what goals can bring the use of artificial intelligence for municipalities. And I would say one anecdote. Whenever I have a lot of meetings with the consultants, and the consultants like to ask the first questions, what are your problems? And we will look for the solutions. So I always say we have only two problems. One is people, second is money. And so finding the
Third is consultants, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So finally, we are living in a time that we have the technology solutions that can work instead of people in basic tasks, and not even in a basic task. They are more and more capable of doing complicated works and do it faster even. And so at the beginning, we started using AI for chatbots, and it was used by our contact center. We made a step forward. Now we are using voice bots, and these voice bots can work in the same time, answering hundreds of telephones at the same moment. So we even had to explain to our citizens that if we are giving, for example, we had this is a real story. We were giving tickets to the theater to seniors, and there was a limited amount of tickets to the theater prepared to be delivered, and you have to call the call center to ask for your ticket. And we had one complaint. A person wrote an email that we must have been cheating, because he called us 5 minutes after the time started for calling for the tickets, and none of the ticket was available. And he calculated that if in the theater is that and that many seats, and one person can talk with the senior for at least 3 minutes, it's impossible that we didn't have any tickets after 5 minutes, while there were 100 bots working in the same time answering this telephone. So it's even you have to take it into the consideration and inform your citizens that you are using modern tools, and they can expect different quality of service.
Did you actually give the tickets out though, or was it just a scam?
No. We actually had a full theater of seniors, so don't worry about that. So these are our examples of how we are using AI. There is a special team working in the city hall and enhancing knowledge of other civil servants about potential of AI and how to use it, and how it can help with our work. But we as a city, we are also made a forward step in implementing smart city solution in our economical, let's say, level. And we built a lab, Poznań City Lab. It's a city lab, like urban lab or city labs. It's something more and more popular. However, we did it in Poznań in a very our way. So we had some R&D representatives, mostly academia, universities, and we have business partners, and they all work together. Mainly those companies are connected with artificial intelligence, and this R&D sector is also connected with artificial intelligence, but not only with all innovation. We want to use the potential of two AI factories that are opening in our city. And with this potential of business sector and academia sector together, and with infrastructure, we want to build the whole process of the pipeline for economic development for anybody who would like to come to our city, or you don't even have to come, start dealing with our city. We plan the AI agent to use knowledge about each of the company that is in our chain of the lab, and prepare their workflow, how they can support, for example, a startup with development. So you need some computer guys who write the code. We have the company that is doing it. You need somebody who can provide you with security solutions. We have the company that can do it. You need the infrastructure. We have the public partner or business partner that can provide you with the infrastructure. Even if you need a consultancy, coming back to the consultants, we have the world-known company that can give you consulting about audit or compliance procedures. So everything connected with AI assistants who knows this and who can ask you about your needs, then the solution can be easily prepared without any additional need of me or my colleagues who are building the whole structure to work automatically.
I didn't expect you to come up with like a sort of a business development case for AI there, but I was thinking more along the governance. But I'm glad you mentioned that. But when it comes to implementing AI agents, how complicated was it for you?
For at the very beginning, for us it was important to build the minimum understanding of the potential these solutions can bring us. So I have to make a new competences in my team, so they were familiar with how agents and AI solutions can support our work. And then we are full of needs. This is this was I hope everybody understand that it was a little joke that we only have two needs: people and money. There are problems in every part of our work, mostly connected with not integrated systems, boring tasks that are over and over repeated. Yeah, these are two the main, but represented in every branch of our activities where we can implement some AI.
So you touched on it there with upskilling City Hall workers. So you've already actively done that. But let's go back to another question about what's your, as more of a personal question, I guess, and as a leader, what's one clear guardrail that you insist on when it comes to AI deployment in your work?
Could you repeat what is my...
One clear guardrail.
Well, I insist on my employees to faster implementation of AI, because my boss insists on me. So I think the bravery with implementing innovation is something that make our everyday.
Okay. And we just one more thing before we move on a little bit is you're speaking from the city of Poznan, and like you said, the wider municipality has 1 million plus people. Do you think there's an advantage to having these kind of services for smaller areas, or is it mainly a big city life thing?
Well, I think there's even more potential for or at least the same amount of potential for small municipalities. I have friends that work in smaller towns, and for example, there are places where there is only one person responsible for all IT stuffs, including computers, servers, connectivity, license, and automation, whatever it's needed. So even this guy, I asked him, who works when you are having the vacation if you are the only one, and he goes like, my father. So so these are places that really need something that doesn't ask for let's say food, and it's not on your payroll as regular people, and it's not using vacation, that can fit into this gap. And even more, it can support small municipality organization with bringing the cutting edge technologies and highest quality services to the citizens.
Would you say, just a final, that Agentic AI will support governance and it's a must for cities to adopt in the immediate future?
Yes, because even the law restriction that were implemented in Europe, connected with interoperability between the systems, didn't make it happen. So we still have some systems, some solutions that are not interconnected, and the AI agents can do it right away.
Thank you very much, Michał. I'm going to switch gears very quickly back to Jason. We talked about other opportunities that we have with Agentic AI in city services. Would you like to talk us a bit more through that?
Yeah, and before we do that, I want to just piggyback on something that Michał said. You asked him a question about small cities versus big cities. I just want to add like a tiny bit more context to that, because especially in the US with smaller cities, they need these services even more, because the larger cities, there's a concept called brain drain, that smaller cities and municipalities, the best and brightest of those places, they leave and they go to the bigger cities. And that's why the bigger cities end up with much more accomplished people working in government, because they leave the small cities and they go to the big cities. And what that results in is that the people working at the larger cities are very competent on applying for grants and getting federal funding, and basically bringing more to the city than the small cities typically have. Very often the smaller cities, they don't even know that there's money available to them to accomplish certain things. So they're typically at a much greater budget imbalance compared to the larger cities per capita. And so AI really gives smaller cities the ability to serve their citizens at a large city level, but with being way more efficient with capital. So that's I think that's something we've specifically come across in our go-to-market here in the US. And I would imagine it's very similar in Europe. And it can't be that much different. It's just, hey, if you don't apply for the money, you don't get the money, right? If you don't know to apply for the money, then you're not going to apply. So that's kind of that concept. But switching gears, yeah.
One moment, Jason. I just want to say quickly, I do notice that there are some questions in the chat. We will address those at the end if we have time. So thank you very much. Jason, take it away. I'll be in charge of the slides.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a lot about TownHal, Agentic AI in this context. In a future webinar, we'll talk about AI agents that actually work inside your organization like employees. But I want to share another example of something that we're seeing, and similar to TownHal. This is a product that BizTech's not the only one. Okay, this is an established and growing market. There's several really cool companies doing this as well. I'm a little partial to ours, sorry, but this is the application of AI in a visual setting. So the concept of OpticHal. Now you guys are probably noticing a trend here. Everything comes back to HAL and when we should perform. OpticHal is giving HAL eyes. So now the AI can see. And now we can apply that both combination of generative and reasoning and action-based side of agentic AI, but now it's with visual capabilities. And so this is an example that we're giving, but this is not the only application for this technology. But the application in this sense, we're going to talk about being able to identify something as simple as road damage. So Joe, if you could go to the next slide, okay? And the basic idea for something like this is we took a camera and we paired it with a GPS device and a edge device. And what we mean by an edge device is a small device that's capable of artificial intelligence computing, GPU computing, but at a very small scale at a local level. So most AI computations, which require a lot of power, are done in the cloud. And because it's done in the cloud, it generates a lot of cost. And so that's one of the things that's actually made AI cost prohibitive for a lot of organizations, is just the fact that it requires so much power, and cloud seems to be the only convenient way to do it, but it's expensive. And it also opens you up to lots of questions around data privacy and security. So cloud it's great, but it's also a challenge. So when we go in this direction, when we add a device, like in this case, and we use NVIDIA Jetsons. So for anyone from NVIDIA listening, we're using your stuff. We attach an NVIDIA Jetson edge device to a camera and a GPS. We stick it on a car, a vehicle, or a vehicle that's owned by the city, or a trash truck, or something that is driving along the streets of a city. And what it does is it's constantly looking at what's there, taking thousands of little photos via video, and analyzing what is happening in this frame, okay? And this could be applied to roads, this could be applied to signage, this could be applied to buildings that are in disrepair, and it's constantly collecting that data, and it's sending reports out to you as a city. So Joe, if you could go to the next slide, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. So we're driving down the road and we see this crack in the road. The camera via the AI detects the fact that there's something that shouldn't be there. In this case, there's an alligator crack, a vertical crack, a longitudinal crack, and it's locating multiple problems with the road. And it's taking that data, analyzing it, and say, oh, there's a problem. Joe, go ahead and go to the next slide. And then what it does is it creates a little report. And I don't expect anybody to read all the things that are in these, but these are actual reports that we did during our testing. And so it attaches the photo, the actual AI analysis of what's going on, and the GPS coordinates of where the anomaly is, where the thing is, and it sends it to the city, okay? Now, the reason that this type of thing is very important and why it's immediate value, these cracks will eventually become either fissures or potholes. They will become 10 times more expensive to fix, and they could potentially cause damage to vehicles that are driving over them. And in some places, not every place in the US, but in some places in the US and most places in Europe, the city is actually liable for that damage. So you're compounding the expense of repair, of maintenance, of roads, right? And so this is an area where AI adds huge value, right? It's preemptive value. You are preventing a huge expense at the cost of, in some cases, maybe like a couple $100 a month, right? It's really, really inexpensive solution to save tens of thousands or millions of dollars in some circumstances.
And just quickly, Jason, so how would you get from deployment to getting this set up to get results? How long would that take?
Absolutely. Here, if you could go to the next slide.
Oh.
This is really, really fast. So, I mean, essentially what we're talking about is we identify how many cameras you might need based on the size of your city. We identify the mode of deployment. So if the city has a good relationship or owns the vehicles that are picking up trash every week, that's the easiest, because those vehicles are literally going down every single street in the city, right? And then those cameras, we're basically selling those at cost. It's not a profit center for us. And most companies that are offering a similar solution are also they're not trying to earn a profit on the cameras. What we want is we want you to have the device, and then there's typically a service attached to it. But we're talking deployment within, couple days to ship the camera, and then same day that you receive it, you could have it up and going and collecting data. So this is immediate value within, once you have the device, minutes, and you're starting to collect this data. So it's super fast. And again, I think that the other thing that is really important here, a lot of companies that are selling to cities, they're expensive services that are being sold to cities. Mihal could probably relate to this. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's government. They've got big budgets. We're gonna blow it up, and we're gonna add a bunch of margin and lots of consulting fees, right? And this AI actually takes that out of the equation, right? AI is it doesn't need to eat. It doesn't have to pay bills. Like AI is cheap by comparison.
Mhm.
And so the value that you're getting for the investment it's a chasm compared to other services. This is an exponential increase in value as a technology, right? So this is again, and guys, this is just an example of how agentic AI can do it. There are lots of other examples of how this has worked, but these are two things that we're doing here at BizTech, and we're already seeing those results. So go ahead, Joe, and if anybody else wants to chime in, please do. I feel like I've talked way too much.
That is absolutely
Well,
fine.
I know we
Karen.
touched on signage, but I think signage is a really significant cost as well that Optical addresses, especially as it relates to graffiti or things like that, where maybe there's not damage to the sign itself, but you can't read the sign effectively. And so people end up, parking or not stopping in areas just because the visibility is not there anymore. So I think, as Jason has explained, that there are different use cases, signage, road, but anything that doesn't belong, that you already are employing individuals to take, assessments and analysis on a regular basis. It again is not meant to replace individuals as much as augment the work that they're doing in a more expedient and efficient and cost savings way.
Exactly. So Mihal, if you could unmute yourself for a minute, we have some questions which I'd like to just address before the end. We only have about 10 minutes left, so we'll try and get through as many of them as possible, and then I'll leave it to Delia to say a fond farewell to us all. So from the questions I've got so far, one says, how does Town Hall ensure data privacy and security when handling sensitive citizen information, and what measures are in place to comply with data protection standards like GDPR? Who wants to field that one?
Well, let me start because eventually it's actually going to go to Mihal, but I'm going to start. And I see that there's several questions about GDPR, and so this is a standard question we hear all the time. GDPR applies to data that is collected and stored or used. Okay, BizTech as a company, we are not in the data business. So how do we specifically combat that? We don't store any data, okay? The only data that's collected and stored is the data that's collected and stored on behalf of the client. So in this case, the city. And the city can choose to collect and store what they choose to collect and store. So ultimately, the GDPR compliance, burden, falls on the municipality of how are you using the data? Because what happens in these, like for Town Hall, is a conversational experience. At the end of the conversation, PAL sends a report to the city, and then we don't keep any of that data. It's gone. It disappears. So there is no storage of data that needs compliance. Okay. So then the city can decide, well, how much do we want to really manage? Do we want all the details, or do we want to manage only a small portion? So Town Hall will have certain limitations. Town Hall is not going to know who you are as a citizen. You can't say, my name is Jason Schuster, and here's my social security number. And Hal's like, cool, I know everything about you, and I can talk to you like a taxpayer, like you are the taxpayer that you are. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is helping you navigate the systems of government. This is not a system that is here to manage you as a person. So in terms of data, we're just simply not collecting or storing the type of personal data that is even dealing with GDPR in the first place. But in the some cases where it is, it really falls to the city to say, well, yeah, hey, we want to know who Hal's talking to. So we'd like just a report of a name. Who did they talk to, and what was the general topic of discussion, right? And in which case, that's a very simple thing to follow in terms of GDPR. And there is no city on the planet that doesn't have their own process for how to do that. So, Mikhail, would you agree with that, or would you have a different opinion there?
Well, I think your explanation is complete. I would also underline that with because I saw the last question, somebody was asking about GDPR and computation in the cloud. Can you explain once again where the computation is done with the optic HAL solution? Because I was also I had some concerns about it, but I think you underline it in your presentation, but maybe it's worth to say it one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, if you could maybe go back one slide, because this is a great question. So the computation is not being done in the cloud. The computation of trying to translate the visual data into a report is actually being done on the device itself. And once it's done,
one more slide, Joe.
Yep.
No. This is no. That was the right one. Go back. No, sorry, because I wanted to see this analysis here. This analysis on the right-hand side, this is the actual report that essentially gets sent, attached with the visual image, and the GPS location is sent as a report to the city. And then we don't store the data. It's deleted from the edge device. And now the city has a report that says, here is a problem with this pothole. Now, when it comes to GDPR, we're talking about personal information about people. OpticHal doesn't detect people. It is only trained to look at and identify physical objects and assets of the city. So signage, road conditions, public buildings, that kind of thing. It does not use visual data of people. No facial recognition or anything like that. So we're essentially, we're completely going around GDPR in the sense of, like, it doesn't apply because there is no personal information for people that's being used in the process at all.
So Jason, like in the past with devices like this that would have to go through like an anonymization pipeline before any data gets to the cloud, there's no need for anonymization because the camera doesn't even, it's blind almost to things that aren't cracks in the road. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
The only thing that even leaves the device is, and that's why I shared the screenshots, that is literally all that goes. It zooms in on that one anomaly, grabs that photo, and sends just that. So it'll never send a photo of a person, because if there's a person in the frame, it's blocking the asset the damaged asset, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of the thing there. But if there were, these types of things already go through, these are already gone through years of model training to do that. So it's not something that we're like starting from scratch and like, oh, well, it might send people. Like, this is years worth of training data that is already, it ignores humans completely in its data analysis and transference.
Got it. We've got, I think, time for one more question before we've got to wrap up, because I am aware of everyone's time. So one more question. If we're discussing the initial phase of responding to citizens through agentic AI, what's the subsequent step that would follow the response? How would the agentic AI integrate with municipalities' workflow sectorally?
Yeah, great question. So in the sense, let's assume that we're talking about TownHal in this context. Where the goal is that 90% of these interactions are actually solved at the website level and never even make it to the workflow of the city. Okay, so let's focus on maybe the 10% that do have to integrate into that workflow. TownHal as a product has integration with and the ability to send emails or SMS, text messages, or reporting, whatever the city feels is necessary or prefers. Is that, okay, hey, we've run into something that the website can't solve. We can't solve this from the website. So we actually are going to push you through to someone who works at the city. So it's just simply going to connect them to the right person. Either send an email directly to the right person. So there'll be a directory of emails that, you know, Hal can send email to with your information so that they can connect you. Okay. And your information being literally your name and your email address, really nothing, and a description of what you're trying to solve. But then it's going to fall into, from there, it's the city's normal processes. So it's it really is not intrusive. Now, when we start to talk about agentic AI in other contexts, which again is not part of this call, and we're talking about AI agents that are like living in your finance department and helping your CFO with their tasks, that's a whole different conversation. And that's not part of the value in minutes proposition. That's more of the value in months proposition. So that'll maybe be a follow-up webinar. But at this point, in terms of the website agent, it's pretty simple. So it shouldn't really bother the workflow as it is already. All it does is prevent more workflow.
Fantastic. Okay, then I would like to just hand this back to Delia to tell us a little bit more about what's on offer for our brave audience who stayed to the very end.
Yes, thanks so much for staying to the end. One last thing about Town Hall is, Jason was mentioning, there are customizable features within Town Hall. For instance, priority. You might know your constituents ask certain questions and you want to address those questions in a very particular way. So you are able to prioritize certain content pieces, customize things, and upload those into the dashboard. So for those of you, in closing, who have stayed through this whole webinar, we are offering 90 days free of Town Hall, our agentic AI for municipalities for their website. You can use the code that I've just shared here as you sign up for Town Hall, and we could share with you the actual website of Town Hall to sign up. Use that code and it'll give you 90 days free for your city to utilize it as a proof of concept to show your teammates and everyone else how effective it works.
Excellent. I'd just like to add on one point there, is this is only valid until the end of Smart City Expo World Congress in Barcelona, beginning next month. So please make the most of it and use it until then to sign up. And of course, if you are in Barcelona, please come and find us. We'll be looking forward to speaking with you. I think all of us will be there. We have, I will be there. Delia, will you be there?
I won't, but only in spirit I will.
But Jason will be there and Mihal will be there. So I'm sure you can bother him if you see him walking around. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. Panelists, thank you so much for your insights. And I hope we're all in touch and speak to each other soon.
Speak soon. Thanks, Joe. Wonderful
Okay,
moderation.
Thank
Good
you.
to see everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
Take care.
Bye.
We are BizTech, and we'd love to hear from you.